Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and it's time to answer the 6K Q&A questions. Actually, I had to pull the question video in less than 24 hours because I received over 150 questions from you guys. So apologies in advance. I had to trim the fat. I had to remove some of the repeat questions, a lot of the predict the future questions. But don't worry, we have about 8 pages of content here to get through. And if you're new to the channel, these videos are more of a long podcast type, a ton of concentrated knowledge in about an hour-long time span. So if that's your thing, if you're into collecting, there's going to be something in here for you. So we're going to get right into it. Starting with Trainer DL Yellow, they asked, that's Trainer Dandelion Yellow, by the way, what long-term positions are you taking with modern product? Well, I think the Scream Pikachus might be a hint. This might be something modern that I'm into, but I usually go for a mixture of rarity, uniqueness, popularity, artwork, all of those combined. Usually with modern, it's going to be more on the popular, unique type of release. There's not too many rare things coming out in the modern end, but that might be a hint, all 20 of them. Next question. Hey, I'm from Germany. What is your opinion on base set first edition in foreign languages like German, French? Please compare it to English in terms of rarity, pricing, print runs, and so on. Thanks. Sorry for my bad English. I get this question somewhat frequently about German and French, Chinese, Korean, pretty much every first edition base variant that's out there. I would say German and French are merging and have more sustainability in my view, my opinion, and I'm basing that a lot on the uptick in grading overseas with France specifically and German probably second. So I see more growth and sustainability there. However, this is a scarcity game with these sets. No one's really going to tell you what the rarity is, but for sure it's not going to be first edition English base. Even if there is a tenth of the availability, it just won't be the same complexion. Again, it's going to be a scarcity game. But I do think France and Germany specifically have the best long-term opportunity for like collector interest. That's just my take. Jennifer A, what's up, Jennifer, asks, hey Scott, what do you think of those that collect the empty Watse boxes? I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. It's a good bang for your buck if you just want, to display it like in your office or something, but there's a lot of open-endedness to it. You could do something dangerous with it. That's in fact how all those fake first edition base boxes exist, because people bought empty boxes, filled them up, wrapped them up. But by and large, I think most people just want them as a cheap option, to appreciate the art. Mucho asks, for investments, collector's cash or troll and toad for who has better near mint quality? I guess it's mostly negligible. I haven't bought for collector's cash in ages, but they did used to have really good near mint quality. But at the end of the day, with big stores like that, it's really tough. So I think it's mostly negligible. They're both highly reputable, so there's no issue. Pokemon 2019 asks, in your humble opinion, who is creepier? I thought it said who is cheaper. Maybe both. Who is creepier, you or Rudy Household? Thank you. I mean, Creepy has Creepy Rudy. He's got the hair going. He's got the flow going in a way that I just can't do. And his his subscribers are massive as well. So I think he's doing it all. He's doing the most. Creepy, whatever. Any category he's got under control. Robert asks, is it true that base set 2 is secretly your favorite set? No, sorry. I just can't. Happy Zebra, do you have any predictions for what will happen with Gen 8 TCG? This is a predict the future question that's not too ridiculous. I mean, I just hope it's more the same in the sense that it caters to the upcoming generation. That's really what the new stuff is for. The next gen is for the next gen. So that's really what I care about the most. If I don't like it as much, that's fine. It's for the current generation. I'd rather see Pokemon continue on in its general popularity. So predictions are really just, or my hopes are just, I hope the new kids like it. That's really it. Stephen Chan, oh, what's up, Steph? Asks, hey, as for the actual important question, who's the main supplier of your t-shirts? These are super exclusive right here. This is some highbrow stuff we got going on. No, somebody does make them for me. I don't know if they want me to mention it on camera, but these are custom exclusive. Yeah, you heard custom exclusive shirts here. No profit whatsoever. Turtle Todd asks, what other Pokemon card crossovers would you like to see in the future? Will we ever get a sports card, a Magic Pokemon card crossover? What are your thoughts on Hollow Bleeds and Swirls? Well, as for the crossovers, we had an Adidas World Cup. Actually had one lying around here. I think it was an order I shipped out the other day. It was like an Adidas Pikachu. I thought that was really cool as someone who played soccer. You don't see too many strong crossovers like with something like Magic. I think the closest thing was probably that Mewtwo done by Christopher Rush. I actually have one signed. I think I posted on Instagram, and that's probably as far as it's going to go. I would love for that to happen. I'd love for crossovers like we saw with Mario Pikachu. People like that sort of thing. You put two different hobbies in one. It's just mind blown every time. Leaf Green asks, whoa, what? Yee, Scott? If you was a furry, all right, what furry sona would you have? What markings or colors? Scottish Terrier, perhaps? This question has so much autism, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I guess green. Green's my favorite color, so there you go. Next question. Congrats on 6K. My questions. Recently, I've seen you criticizing Crystal Charizard from Skyridge as the price of the card has dropped quite a lot. And isn't it the case that other desirable cards have dropped as well? First edition base Blastoise, Venusaur, Mewtwo, etc. Yes and no. I actually just recorded a video on how we are in a buyer's market for set cards, and I touch on the breakdown and the overview for that, but not to the same extent as Crystal Charizard. Crystal Charizard was a special case because it was falsely perceived as a Gold Star Charizard pull rate, and that's not true. It's basically a hollow card pull rate. Therefore, it hit 4,500 at its peak. Shout out to Hypernova. And then it quite literally did a Hypernova and just hit the bottom floor at like 1.8, I think, 1.8K. So that's a pretty significant dive bomb. The first edition base cards, you know, especially like the ones you mentioned, the big three, not even close. Some of them did get cut pretty hard, but that was also due to temporary supply, where with Crystal Charizard, it's pretty strong. It's a pretty strong trend. So yeah, it's yes and no, because most set cards have decreased, but the Crystal Charizard was just one of the worst offenders. There were others out there similar, but that was definitely one of the front runners, I think, because it was a Charizard. Usually Charizards are like, you know, top shelf for set collectors. Choke asks, hey Scott, thanks for doing this again. Unlike high-end sports cards, the Japanese seem to dislike the idea of grading. Do you think this would change moving forward, where ungraded cards, especially trophies, will be non-existent? That's a very good question. I think the Japanese are reluctant for a number of reasons. One of them is awareness and ubiquity. They're very hard to please. They're very inflexible, and that has, you know, pros and cons, just like everything. But the deficit of that is there are a lot of cards out there, as we've seen, that are faded because they don't protect them. I don't know how to convince them of the value, you know, of that. But with PSA's edition, I think it's becoming more, again, more ubiquitous. But you're finding a lot of inertia there. You're finding a lot of stubbornness. I would say it would grab some of the market, but most people just can't be bothered. I think the people that own the trophies, when you see a Japanese person selling, it's usually the winner or someone selling for the winner. And they're just like, oh, this guy's finally deciding to sell now. To get to that point where they decide to sell is like a miracle in itself. So once they get to that point, they just pretty much, you know, just sell it as is. Next question, Remy asks, hey, do you have any news about a possible PSA office in Europe? It's been kicked around similar to the Japan office. If it does happen, it'll probably be similar like that. Most to all grading, or so far, all grading occurs domestically in the U.S., and I'd imagine that's what it'll be if it does occur. I haven't heard anything definitive, though. Next question. Congrats on 6,000 subs. Do you think Pokemon will do something special for Tokyo Olympics? Keep up the good work. I hope so. I would imagine they're going to do something. At least like a little Pikachu. Let's get a promo card going. Let's get a full Olympic mini set. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there. It's a big deal. The Olympics don't come too often. So I hope they do. They've done similar, like I said earlier, with the World Cup Pikachu. That'd be great if they did something like that. You know, they did it for the World Cup. Hopefully they do it for, and that wasn't even in Japan, so, you know, hopefully they do something. I'd imagine they do at least one plush or one promo. Aquas asks, what white whales, or what are the white whales of your collections? I guess 97 trophies were for a while. It's just going to be the trophy stuff, really, and harpooned most of those at this point, but yeah, it's just going to be just trophy stuff, I think, in general. 97s come to mind. Ironically, not the illustrator. Brandon asks, What is a good way of making back some money as a collector? I don't want to be a flipper. It's an expensive hobby. Well, I mean, you're in a rock and a hard place there. It's to make. I think the best perspective I can give you is just cut your costs. I was talking about this as a patron the other day. Just cut your costs is where you should start. Enjoy the hobby. Cut your costs because you need both of these things. You need knowledge and starting capital. Unless you're coming in here with $100,000 or more right out of the gate, you can afford to make mistakes. If not, you need to learn naturally about those mistakes and patterns on your own through genuine interest. And if your focus is cut your costs, you're not adding that unnecessary anxiety. When you're like, I need to make money, I need to make money, that's added stress. It's going to take you off course. It's going to, seep into your like infrastructure. You don't want that. So there's no easy answer here. It's just, I would say try to cut your costs, and you're going to make mistakes. I actually made a video entitled You're Going to Fail and That's Okay. So you're going to have to fail a little bit in the beginning to figure it out. Maximilian asks, it's a hell of a name, what kind of binders do you use for your collections? I use the Ultra Pro books, specifically the ones with Pikachu on it, please believe. I have like 30 of them in inventory, empty for at any time I need them. You always have to have plenty of them ready to go, but that's what I do for Pokemon Magic. I just do a black version of the same thing. Black asks, any particular card you have your eye on or want but haven't found yet for your next purchase? Kind of like the white whale question. Not really anything I could think of. It's just going to be a new goal that I set out. And right now for Pokemon, it's more about just doing binders and variations and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of the new stuff. Like when the Scream promos came out, I was like, I want as many of them as I can buy. So it just depends on what I feel, what I wake up feeling that day. Gary asks, what percentage of your orders are bought and shipped overseas? Do you ship larger packages overseas? Actually, this is a good question. International buyers, like with the earlier question in relation to German and French base, it's a growing area. It's a growing region. So my international orders have increased over the past couple of years. I also should mention to all the international buyers, I don't use GSP. I'm one of the last of the Mohicans out here. I don't use GSP. I assume the risk, and if you're doing big orders, I usually recommend doing some type of bank wire, some type of deal where I don't have any risk, because if I'm doing you that favor, it's a mutual understanding. But even with that said, the people using GSP, I think they're also seeing an uptick. So I think everyone's just experiencing right now, Gary, and I think it's mostly due to just that market was probably the most untapped market, where the U.S. always had action, like, again, like France and Germany specifically. It was untapped for a while. So they're really experiencing growth there, I think, in a higher percentage than we are. But yeah, that's just my general perspective on it. Next question, Speed Freak says, hey Scott, what football team do you cheer for in Europe? It's tough now, man. Like, I used to be big into like Arsenal in the mid-2000s, Barcelona, like right when they got Messi initially. My favorite player was Zizou. I didn't like Real Madrid when he was there, but I think he's the best player in my opinion. But, with that said, now it's such a money game. Like, when I look at like PSG and like these owners who come in, they're like, oh, we want that player? We'll get that player. Come here. We'll get you. They just throw down more zeros to the contract. So it kind of takes away the commitment and the, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the cap era with hockey, for example, really keeps you solidified as a fan. You're more loyal. Because if you have that big baller couple of, teams out there that just buy up every player that they want with all the money in the world, it just takes away from that, like, that trust. I don't know. It just loses its luster. So that's how I feel about modern clubs right now. I liked it more in the mid-2000s than it is now. It wasn't as crazy. But, so yeah, I've kind of lost my commitment level to a club. I look at players now and just appreciate the game in general. Next question, what's your opinion on blister packs of rare sets as an investment? I feel that the inevitable all but extinct status of first edition base and Skyridge boxes, blisters will rise. Is there a better sealed investment? Okay, it's all investment talk. I thought I nuked most of these, but I don't even want to recommend this to Patreon. This type of question is a great example of things I'm not answering because it's not really an issue of what my perspective is. It's just people just want free financial advice, and there's no one can answer it. I'm not going to say, oh, this is my opinion, then you can quote say, oh, smpratte said this. It's just unanswerable, and here's a better way to address it. You can't walk into Merrill Lynch and say, what do you think the Dow Jones is going to be in 5 years, guys? Let me know. I don't want to pay you. I just want to know, what's the Dow Jones going to be in 5 years? So, thought I nuked all those. Manuel Torres asks, how rare do you consider the base set pack where they forgot to put a triangle on, or where they put the triangle on top of it? The ones where they put the triangle on it, they're obviously rare. I don't know if that's a miswording there, but no one really knows. Again, scarcity game is the name of all set stuff, but I couldn't tell you. You gotta understand why all this stuff happened is a last minute, fix. That's how Watse was, last minute. They're like, oh, we got some scrap paper over here. Let's throw it on there. Oh, guys, there's no country codes on the box. They must have thought of this. Nah, it was just scrap paper. That's just how they are. So this was just a quick fix. I don't think there's any way to ever know, how rare it is. It's just a scarcity guess. Next question, do you think Shining Legends cards will come within their increased price as Shining cards from Neo Destiny? No. Neo Destiny is way over here. Shining Legends are printed into who knows. So they're great cards. I love Shining Legends. I really like that set, but keep it in the context of Modern. It's never going to be Neo Destiny. Patrick asks, I'm looking to start collecting again with the intent to invest long term. I understand my best bet is to collect what I like and enjoy and get experience. Is there anything I should stay away from? Set, series, many thanks. Since it's such a broad question that everyone wants answered, the only real answer is a broad answer, and that is you're just going to make mistakes. Again, I record a video on this, which will come out eventually, that talks about the importance of making those mistakes. It's not some corporate motivational video that they train their employees with. Seriously, that's how you're going to learn in anything. In sports, how do you learn? How do you even shape? How do you improve? You have to tear muscle. You have to make a mistake. It's the definition of growth. So, yeah, don't go and touch things like Shaman EX. Be careful for things that, are on the brink of rotation. Other than that, all the collectible vintage stuff, it's just engagement. There is no one answer, because my answer even 6 months ago could be completely different from today. Even a month ago. A lot of stuff moves quickly. So, therefore, there is no one answer in that sense. So, hopefully that helped. Brandon asks, how do you keep track of inventory at tax time? What buying collections? Okay, I'm just going to stop right there. Inventory, it's a tax question I'm not going to do on camera, but for people who know me, I'm set up through multiple things, so I just can't answer it. Sorry. That's just something I just can't do on camera. Jim, keep, sell, or burn Roaring Skies, Ancient Oranges boxes. Yes, all the above. Just do all the above in that order. Actually, reverse. Burn, then try to sell. I have probably 50 Roaring Skies boxes, speaking of inventory. So maybe one day I'll do a Roaring Skies bonfire video. Next question. Hey, Scott, I invested heavily in SpaghettiOs and Chef Boyardee. I believe I currently own 0.1% of the world's supply. Quite a large amount, in parentheses. And was wondering what the returns after 24 hours would look like. Not a flipper, by the way. I think you got this under control. You're playing 4D chess right now and making the big brain beam just look like a Rattata. This is it right here. I'm gonna try and save this and immortalize this question. Very good. Andrew asks, during the course of the average year, what is the Pokemon market at its highest or lowest? Why do you suspect certain months hotter than others? It's actually a really good question. In the months when the market is slow, have you found a good time to buy? That's a very good question. This could be its own topic, in fact. And I've touched on this in Patreon. There is a natural retail cycle in my experience, emphasis my experience, typically around Black Friday, the end of all the holiday sales. Even if you saw this with the eBay stuff, they just throw all those coupons at you towards the end of the fourth quarter. And to me, that's the finish line of retail. And then there is a little bit of a lull, going into the next year, January, February, bit of March, it starts to pick up. This is how I've experienced it with Pokemon, hobbies, retail, whatever you want to call it. And that lull is because, it's just the holiday swell and then also taxes and things like that. But yeah, that's the flow. And as for the part about buying, it's not binary. There's always a buying opportunity. There's always something you could buy and always something you could sell. But yeah, I would say in general, there might be a little moment in there, a bit more, might be a bit more pronounced because there is a bit of a lull, but it's not going to be anything, I don't think, too... It's not for example, a Charizard that's hitting 1,000 all day is going to go 500, because it's January. It won't be something like that, but you might catch one on the low end, because of those factors. Bart asks, what do you think of the size of the newer sets? The sets grow even larger and larger, and they've not slowed down. In my humble opinion, this might hurt collectability. I agree to an extent. I'm not someone who's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Modern is a new beast that we have yet to experience. They have tempered it a bit with like Ultra Prism. Japan has always been good about this, but for the US, it was saturation city for a while. It was crazy for a while, but we need 5 years. We need 7 years to really look back in hindsight. We can only understand in hindsight. This stuff is too fresh, but I agree. Saturation is what kills everything. I've talked about that in multiple videos. It's a recurring theme. Saturation is the death of all things enjoyable. If everything becomes saturated and easy, I took it even like sports. I think that was my analogy, is like if everyone could dunk from the free throw line, it's not impressive anymore. It's saturated. So yeah, saturation is it's the devil. It's the thing you don't want. It is the Enron of hobbies. You just don't want it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But I don't think we're doomsday. I think there's more of it. I don't think it's going to grow like Watse, but you know, even Watse now is optimized. Illuminati, speaking of, most slept on Watse set. The answer, none. Nothing in Watse is invisible. Everything is discovered, researched, analyzed. Every ink blot, every stain, every misaligned stamp, it is all understood. So no, there is no stone unturned with Wizards of the Coast. It is fully optimized. Sure, there'll be some movement up and down all around later on because of scarcity and availability or whatever. But no, it's just everything is doing the most. Next question. Hey Scott, love the Q&A. Odd question this time around, but I keep coming across the name David Persin. I've read quite a few old threads. He might have the most comprehensive English collection out there. Do you think we'll ever see it? Any chance you could give him a call and do a quick collab? So yeah, I've known David for a long time. I'm somewhat of his liaison, if that's the right word, for like communicating with the hobby. No offense to David, but I think he'd agree he's older than me, but he's a bit more seasoned. There's a better word. And he doesn't have, surprisingly, older adults don't have as much time to collect Pokemon cards. So he doesn't have the time to put in. But yeah, it's one of those things I guess I could do next time I am with him. I just never thought about it. He's pretty private, so you know, I respect that. But yeah, he does for sure have the most comprehensive English, underline that, collection. Legendary K4 asks, if your goal was to acquire a master set of all sets, how would you go about doing this? Boxes, individual packs. Also, where do you get into referencing the cards released in each set? I feel like buying individually would be cheaper but less fun. Actually, I think it's the opposite. Individually is the way to go, in my opinion. I do individually all day. I recommend it to people because it's all about that hunt. That's what collecting is at the end of the day. It's all about that chase. So for me, I do individual. I just did a couple Magic sets, and the only bulk or like group purchase I did was just to knock out a lot of the common uncommons. But other than that, I'd go the individual route. You learn the cards too. Like even with that Magic stuff, some of it's fresh to me. It's stuff that I didn't specifically grow up with, and it's like I know those certain cards now because of having to research it and chase it down. So I think individual is the way to go. It feels like you really achieve something when you complete that set at the end of the day. Carlo asks, if you ever have to sell off your collection, what would you sell it for and what price? I don't think I would, but it would probably be pieced out because there's so many rare individual pieces, and price-wise, just 7 figures. I don't know, in the 7-figure range. I don't know what that would be. But yeah, I mean, it's at a point where it's impossible to give you a figure. Next question, are there any strategies in addition to rarity that one can use in the current flipping market? Patience. That's the strategy I'd give you. Neeks asks, what is the future of Shadowless base sets? I guess we'll find out. Next question, Satriani or Vi? Oh boy. Okay, I was obsessed with Vi in high school. My parents can attest to this. I played guitar like 8 hours a day. I was obsessed with Steve Vai, man. That dude, like, you hear guitar, you see a guitarist, and then you see Steve Vai on a guitar, and you're just like, what is happening? Like, how... It's not only, like, what is he doing, but how efficiently and casually he's doing it. Like, when he's playing Tender Surrender, and he just, like, does that little legato run while, like, holding the guitar, I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, and then, like, you see him doing it, and then there's, like, extra notes coming out of nowhere. So, Steve Vai, to me, is just, like... He's like a superhuman. He's crazy. And I maybe I'm partial now because I understand his music vocab so much that I just can't unhear it. But you know, like listening to Halo 2, I remember seeing him do that in the studio in real time, and that dude is just like he's a genuine virtuoso or prodigy. Like he just ripped that like dive bomb, you know, whammy bar sustainer thing out of nowhere in Halo 2, and it's like, oh, there we go. Yep, we got it there, guys. 30 minutes, got the whole thing, got all we needed. But of course, like Satriani was his teacher. They're both just top of the charts, but I'd choose Vi. I don't know if you want that full on of an answer, but you got it. Trumpet, oh, here we go, asks, when is the time to sell PSA graded cards? Is the longer you hold, the better, or is the apex you look for price? I mean, there's no one answer here. So, for example, if you're asking this back in like 2012, I'd be like, well, you know, today compared to like a year ago, it's better. And then, of course, if you waited till 2017, it'd be like 5 times the price. It just really comes down to your needs and how much capital you feel like you need or what your life is. Best thing I can give you for everyone who thinks this, everyone who's always ruminating on what to do, what to invest in, what to buy, what to sell. No top investor, Warren Buffett, you name it, sells at the highest and buys at the lowest. That never happens. Okay, so just don't overworry yourself. Just try to, you know, be engaged and hit some wins or whatever. King Crown asks, has there been a fake Pokemon card that has gone past PSA? Yes, there has. Harry asks, hey Scott, can you talk about top 7 cards, rarity value, collecting, etc.? I do like the card-ass cards. I actually have one offshoot. I have numerous. This is one of my favorite, probably my favorite non-TCG Pokemon card. Card-ass is my favorite. Top 7 I'm just indifferent about. But we're never really going to know the rarity because they aren't, again, they aren't trading card game cards. They were just printed during Pokemon's initial release, and there's not much information on them. But these are my favorite. The Sugimori ones, hands down my favorite. Okay, next question. Have you FOMO'd into Bitcoin yet? Next stop, the moon. I think this shirt explains my position on all crypto. Santiago asks, hey, once you recommend the book, The Millionaire Next Door, could you recommend us another book? Okay. Actually, I get criticized for this too. I don't go through a lot of books from beginning to end. The Millionaire Next Door was more of an exception because it was so engaging. But maybe Catch-22 was good. I remember doing that in my philosophy program in college. I thought that was a good one because that idea of Catch-22 reverberates over time forever. You know how life is a Catch-22, opportunity costs, things like that. And they really just hit on all the little idiosyncrasies and just all the characters, major. And is that Catch-22 or Confederacy of Dunces? Just maybe both of them. All of the above on those. But yeah, those books I remember most from... There's always those like super hardcore academic books like reading Plato's Statesman and all that crap, but I would say like Confederacy and Dunces and Catch-22 I really thoroughly enjoyed. Jordan McMillan, hey Scott, thanks for your time and coaching in the hobby. You really helped me out submitting my first order. Okay, that's good to hear. Question, based on your experience, how do you feel the Japanese cards will increase in value over time from their current prices compared to English? For example, base set Charizard, PSA 9 or 10. Japanese won't be English, just like earlier when I said foreign in general won't be English. It never will be. It won't have the same demand. It won't have the same market demand. More specifically, Japanese are printed better. To this day, they have like a Kevlar back on them. You can do shooting practice on them. They're just ridiculous. So, therefore, better condition, smaller market, and that's probably going to equal slower movement. Now, you could have a scarcity situation where people realize that, hang on, base set's been out since 96, and it's probably easy to buy up, whether that's a business doing that or collector or whoever. But, you know, that has yet to happen in a real way. But yeah, that's just a general overview. They're not comparable because English is larger and just different entity. Nebula Dog, hey Scotty, if I win the league, how much will you pay for my trophy card? Well, it depends on the place that you earn, but I will be your top buyer, so hit me up if you do win. Blah asks, which card or set gets overhyped, or which card or set got overhyped and decreased in value? I mean, pick your poison. Like, pretty much most WotC says. The problem with overhype and that phrasing is that I think most things happen in Pokemon organically. You know, even when people do hype up a card, I think hype is temporary, and I think it self-regulates. Remember when, Unlisted Leaf made that video on the Festa cards, 2016. Hyped it up, But why that sustained is because they were actually rarer than the other Festa cards. They only had 2 releases. The other ones had 4. Also, that one had Pikachu, the starters on it, just like this card had starters on it. So it's like these are actual tangible things that are legitimate, whether he was aware of it or not. Now, when he talked about Red's Pikachu, for example, there's another example of hyping it up. And how did that work out? Straight down to the bottom. Red's Pikachu is going to sit right there like Ancient Mew and hold a price for a long time because there's so many out there. So, point being, hype is temporary. I don't really think it's necessarily overhyped. I do think certain sets like Legendary Collection, Sky Ridge are highly speculative because a lot of them are held by people who are impatient and flippers. But other than that, that still will self-regulate. So sets in general have their ups and downs, but over time they'll self-regulate. Nate asks, do you think PSA 9 first edition Watses are underpriced? I feel they have a lot of room to grow. Yes and no. I've talked about this in Patreon. I beat a dead horse on this topic all the time. I end with this all the time in Underrated. PSA 9s are great value purchases. Don't get it twisted. They are value purchases. If you can buy today a first edition Watse Hollow PSA 9 from $30 to $50, that is just larceny. That is insane. You are buying a card that mostly sells ungraded and near mint for the same price. So you're already, your time value of sending in yourself and risk is washed away if you can get the bird in the hand. So great value purchase. That doesn't mean it necessarily equates to lots of room to grow. There's a reason it's sitting at that price because that's where the bell curve hits for most sets for conditions straight out of pack. Gareth asks, holy wall of text. Curious if cards, I'm going to try to summarize this. Curious if cards start to be bought and sold more and more. They become more speculative assets rather than collectibles. What does the end game look like? Okay. Final form Pokemon 5 to 10 years. Is this a natural progression for collectibles? What's the long-term effects for things like baseball cards? With each generation, the pool of buyers presumably grows smaller and smaller, but potentially population growth, it still has a higher actual number. Okay, so in general, the aspect of speculation, in my opinion, self-regulates. As speculation, investors, hype comes and go. Collectors never die. That's just what it is. Genuine interest is unattainable, unquantifiable. If you don't have it, I don't know how to teach it to you because it's so self-evident, and it's why all of these things have legitimacy. It's why all of these companies can exist and put that little drawing on there that represents this little yellow mouse, and it resonates with the customer because there's some type of little morsel it's hitting, some genuine interest that it's tapping into. So at the end of the day, as long as that's there, which with Pokemon, luck, we are very privileged in Pokemon, where it keeps, like earlier when I talked about Gen 8, it keeps having this rebirth and this like recycle, like a little Poliwags, Poliwhirl stomach and expanding outward. So for Pokemon, it's great. For things like Vintage Sports, you raise a good question. That's a fear for a lot of people. Outside the Honus Wagners, Mantles, big hitters, big names like that, a lot of the other stuff, I don't think it's going to hold water. I have baseball cards that are about 150 years old. I have a couple from the 1800s. $200. I mean, you know, that's... So, I don't know how that'll fare for Vintage Sports or for Pokemon. There's no worry in my mind. Charles asks, how do you go about buying trophy cards like 1997 trainers, private, eBay, etc., and how do you end up with them before other collectors do? That's impossible to answer. But in general, how I buy all these, or more than anyone else has, I don't care and I just buy them. That's really what it is. Like back in the day when people would tell me it's stupid, I'm like, I don't care, I like it, so I bought it. People would say, hey, that's really expensive. I don't care, I like it, so I bought it. So all the people now who are hedging and like, oh, I don't think it's worth that. Well, how many trophy cards have you snagged and permanently held long term? You know, so that's always the question I put to people is like, well, how many have you successfully attained with that perspective? You know, it's really hard to be thrifty with trophy cards. I know a lot of thrifty buyers, nice guys, but terrible buyers. And they've been around for a long time. They miss once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that won't return. The only way it'll return is if they add some zeros to the price. So for that stuff, that's what it is. It's always just going to move up. It's so obvious now. We're to the point now where I can't even tell you what that stuff sells for because it's so damn rare. The experts within the experts don't even know because it's so fleeting. So there is no one answer. You just got to go big when it's available. Nike Swoosh asks, what are the current chances of English releasing Ultra Shine GX? This is like, I don't know. This is the longest I've seen a Japanese set out without an English counterpart. And I'm like nervous because I don't know really what I want at the end of the day. You know, so I just want some answers and some continuity, which you'll never get with Pokemon, but I don't know, man. It's the longest I've ever seen. If you go look at cycles for English sets, it's usually 3 months, 6 at the most. We're way past that now. So, I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. It's a wait and see with Pokemon. Again, usually it's 3 months on average, but it's really tough to tell. So, I wish I had an answer for that. Pokemon Court asks, hey, this is the Pokemon Cards Norway, the biggest Facebook group from... Oh, I've heard about you. I actually had a guy from... I don't know, it's Denmark. Denmark and Norway. The Nordic countries are growing like crazy right now for Pokemon. I had a guy in Denmark talk about how they started a group. Norway has one as well. Don't be offended. You guys are so close up there. But I've heard about you. I heard about you guys. The biggest Facebook group for collectors in Norway. Do you know what's up with the loose cards inside PSA cases? It seems that it's pretty normal nowadays. Very annoying, especially when the grade is PSA 10, because the card can become PSA 9 or 8 because of shifting inside. So, in general, you're fine. You want some air to breathe. Let's see if I have a PSA. What do I have here? Here's a Japanese Charmander, and he's a rattler. I don't know if you can hear it. ASMR Charmander talking to you. But, yeah, it's going to move. This is going to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. You can shake this around. Someone put this in a paint shaker or whatever. Paint mixer. Paint mixer is, like, just ridiculous, and it's hilarious, and nothing happened. However, the only potential problem is if it slips through that divide. You know how they have those barriers there at the top and the sides? If it slips through that and gets up here, which I have had that occur, I shipped a card to the UK once. Of course, it was a friggin' prize card, like Tropical Mega Battle prize card. But if it gets up there, yes, that's a worry. But again, I've had that happen one time out of tens of thousands of cards shipped. So yeah, the shaking isn't that much of an issue. It's just if it penetrates the barrier. Next question, how do you acquire the money to make some of the huge purchases? Hard work over time. Richard, hey Scott, I noticed you throw in some basketball references here and there. I was just wondering what your opinion is on the GOAT, Giannis, and I know this dude, I've heard he's on the Bucks, right? I'm like peripherally involved in basketball now. I have a couple close friends who are big into it. I used to play in high school. I really like what's his name, which is not even, it's so common now. It's like saying water's wet. Zion Williamson. That dude is just like, oh my god, that guy's ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know much about Giannis. I'm just glad to see the Bucks aren't a bottom dweller team like they have been since ever. So yeah, that's the positive that I like from that. Electric Type asks, has there ever been a sale for a full PSA 10 first edition Neo Destiny set, and what would you value it? I think someone told me this recently. They were looking for one of these. I think it was around 11K, give or take. Of course, it's, full set's a different animal. But I think it's somewhere in there for the people who complete it through PSA, through the set registry. I think that was around the cost, was about 11 to 12. So, maybe 15 if you want to add something in there for convenience, premium. But that's going to be something where it's really tough to gauge. Not going to sell consistently. It's not a liquid asset. There's too many pieces there. I think most people would rather pick it up individually. Next question. Hey, Scott, what do you think of the Pop 5 boosters? Will they rise strong in terms of pricing over the next few months, years? Answer, only if they have... The answer to that is only if they have some type of, patience. If people who are holding them can wait, because right now everyone's undercutting. So, again, patience. If somebody's patient, it'll happen. Breaking Silver, hey Scott, I was wondering about your knowledge of Bandai starters or Cardash checklist cards. That's this guy right here. Are they rare, or do they just look cool and nostalgic? We won't know rarity on this stuff. There isn't documentation, or if there is, it's so general and basic. They aren't super easy to find, especially even in this one. Here's a near mint. That one's mint. The other one's gem. Even in near mint condition at this point, they're not easy to find. So this is the card to get from the set. It's like the linchpin. It's like the Charizard. It's better than the Charizard that's in there, in my opinion, for the artwork. But yeah, we won't know rarity. It's mostly nostalgia and has scarcity and rarity to it. We just don't know the numbers. Jacob asks, will first edition stamps ever be faked well enough where you cannot tell the difference between what is real and forged? Will this put premium on the old PSA certs? No, I don't think so. I think we've seen a few of them. It's the amount out there that are actually legitimate threat that slip through PSA are like 0.01%. So it's not even close to being a feasible reality. Also, people don't realize like doing something like that is so tedious. You know, for all the forger cockroaches that exist in our ecosystem, they're going to go after things like purses, watches, markets like that, iPhones, whatever it is. They're going to go after stuff like that that's so much easier, like especially purses. It's just fabric. They're going to go after stuff like that. Where with this, I know, oh, it's just ink and cardboard, but there's this very specific way all that has to work out. Yeah, and more specifically, there are less buyers for that type of stuff. It's really, that's a dangerous road. Anyone who would go down that road and try to do that, that's very dangerous. But nonetheless, I wouldn't worry. Alessio asks, hey Scott, please take seriously this question. How do you see Yu-Gi-Oh! In the future of non-sports? I appreciate the preface there. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just not... Yu-Gi-Oh! Is solid, but I know it's grown, but to me, it's just smaller than Magic and Pokemon by a wide margin. No offense to Yu-Gi-Oh! Collectors. I think that we're just keeping it real here. It's just never been my forte. I never got big into it. Also, I don't like... Part of that community has like a lot of... I don't know how to tag it. I don't know how to term it, but there's just, like at their tournaments and stuff, there's stuff that happens there I just don't agree with. I don't like the behavior and like how some of the better players act. I just don't like that. I wish that would shape up where, you know, with Pokemon Magic, with all of its faults and immaturities, I just think it's better. And why I'm mentioning that is because I think that really helps like stabilize, solidify, move, and legitimize things moving forward. Next question, do you think that BGS has had much improvement on the grading recently? What are your take on the double Black Star Grand parties? No, I don't. I don't think that they have had much improvement. BGS for Pokemon is just about the 9 or 10. That's it. And under that, they are still to this day not consistent enough in my opinion. Now they removed the subgrades, which is like that's why most people grade with Beckett. And the non-guaranteed service is an abject failure. So no, they are not. Neither grading company right now is an A in my opinion. PSA is definitely better, but Beckett is failing. I don't think Beckett has done anything innovative, perhaps ever, for Pokemon. I don't think they really have. I don't even think they care about Pokemon to that extent. So no. Ali asks, what are your thoughts on the Final Fantasy TCG from an investment standpoint, and what areas should Square Enix improve on to ensure the TCG is not only lasts but grows? I don't think it's an internal thing. I think Final Fantasy is just not Pokemon or Magic. I don't think it has the engagement. I don't think it has the dynamics. I don't think it has the depth. I don't think it has the interest. I don't think it has the breadth of characters. I don't think it has the worldwide ubiquity and interest. So it's not really much you can do internally. Now, for the people who do like it, just don't saturate it, and they already did. So I really don't know, man. I wish there were a nice answer here because I have a decent amount of the first release, but sure enough, they just did another wave of it to satisfy the one distributor that has a bottleneck on it and got that saturation, sells it to market below retail cost. So there really isn't much there to grab onto from a financial perspective and like an intellectual perspective or like a idea. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's niche. I would even put DBS above it. You know, I think DBS is doing it better. DBS's structure is great. They're flying right out of the gate with what they're doing. But I also think DBS will suffer long term because, again, they don't have the depth. They don't have dynamics. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something they're doing unique there. But I just don't feel like... I don't need 10 different Goku cards, you know? Where with Pokemon, it's like you have so many options, so many different artists, where DBZ, there's taking shots. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but just trying to add to that point that I think it's just the idea won't expand as far as something like Pokemon or Magic. Zach Agger, oh, what's up, Zach? Asks, hey Scott, what lengths have you gone to, or what is your farthest journey to obtain a card or sealed item? I mean, I've flown, driven, met people in airports. I'd had people give me a ticket just to walk through security to meet them, and that's it. So I've done, you can name it, I've done it to get a card. But the longest I've gone domestically is probably like 12 hours, I think, in car. So yeah, if it's worth it, I'll do it. So yeah. RKJ asks, how much time do you spend just browsing through your collection? Good question. I like to flip through my set binders and try to find new cards I haven't appreciated before. Thanks for the great content. Keep it up. Literally right before this video, I was sleeving one of my binders, which I'll show you in a video eventually. And yeah, I try to do it whenever I have time. It's really tough lately. Just one of the things about being an entrepreneur, I guess, here we go, is that you're always trying to like do that next thing or whatever, so you don't give yourself enough downtime. And whenever I do have downtime, which now I have to like force myself to, I try to look at binders. You know, even the screen promos, I've seen them at least like 10 times now up close. Like, I really try to lose myself. I don't care how ridiculous that sounds. That's what I try to do with that stuff, is just really read the description, look at all the background of the card. For the big stuff, majority of anything expensive isn't on site for a number of reasons. So yeah, it is mostly binders. But I think for me, that's the best. That's the soul of collecting, in my opinion. Nebula Dog, yes, I love just going through. Okay, this is next question. When I saw Nebula Dog, I think that's one of those furry usernames. James Lee, hey Scott, what are your thoughts on EX ADV and Diamond and Pearl sets? I know you've mentioned stuff about Gold Stars before, and what are your thoughts on some of the ultra rares like EX's Level X's Secret Rares? Also, please show more of your inventory. Well, I'd like to show you more of our inventory. A lot of it's just logistics and bringing it over here and remembering and finding the time. But as for those sets, I think they're scarce. I think that's what they have going for them. Kind of like the E-Series, they follow that bell curve where the counterintuitive aspect today is at the least popular time in Pokemon has the lowest print availability. So that's what they have going for them, is that low print. Does that equate to like, oh, missed opportunity? I don't know. It's really just if people evolve to that point where they want to do that with sets or whatever, but, you know, it's there. And I think, you know, that scarcity aspect is what it has going for it. Brandon Moore asks, hey, Scott, love the content you create and appreciate the time you take to do this. Thanks, appreciate that. You commented in your videos that you enjoy playing music. I was wondering what your favorite artists are. As mentioned myself, I'm curious on your musical influences. For guitar, it's like I mentioned before, Steve Vai, Satriani, really like Buckethead. I think Buckethead's got a lot of soul to him. Obviously, he's got technicality, like Yngwie and all those guys. I think the technicality aspect where it starts to get splinters, like with Paul Gilbert, you know, people like that who, no offense to someone like that, but he's so much just shred. Even Yngwie's kind of in danger doing this, but I think his like tremolo picking is just like a hum. Like he just. It's like you don't even see his hand moving, and it's just flawless. Where like a lot of guys are like doing the whole, like they're like delts are flexing when they're tremolo picking. So I mean, I mean it's really hard just to talk basic about music because it's been a big chunk of my life to the point where I almost studied it. But it's all over the place, man. I would say anything. Satriani had this like cheesy quote that I think it was he walked off the field when Jimi Hendrix died, and said he's just going to be a professional musician. He walked off football practice. And I remember like his sister or somebody, according to him, said, you know, just make sure whatever you do sounds musical. Like, and that's true for him. I think he's very melodic. And, you know, if I find that melody or whatever it is, what I think is melody, as corny as it sounds, whatever genre it is, like the other day I was watching a Japanese reality show and there's this band on there and some bassist joins the show and I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. I don't know a single word. It's like this high-pitched vocal, but I'm like, whoa, this melody's nice. So it's all over the place. I just appreciate it in general, I guess. Next question, could you talk a little bit about your complete set of PSA 10 Uniqlo Warm Pikachus? Well, yes, I can. Warm Pikachus are super quality modern cards. I really like Uniqlo. If you haven't heard about Uniqlo, it's this clothing brand that is killing it right now. If you're in one of those super hip, trendy cities, there's probably one there physically. If not, it's online. I'm not being paid by Uniqlo to plug this, but it's just so much bang for your buck. The clothes actually fit me in my extra medium build. So it's a nice clothing store, but they do this crossover. It's based out of Japan, and they did like a couple Pokemon promotions, and one of them was this little winter warm Pikachu around Christmas, I think 2014. Just nice quality artwork. One of them's like Pikachu looking out a window, just like sitting there on a pillow. It's just so damn cute. But more importantly, they were actually rare. They have some legs to them. Like today, you can't find that stuff complete, even ungraded, you know, near mint. So therefore, I think people, probably to this day a little bit, don't realize how rare they are. So I pulled them up. I actually have one priced decently high on eBay because I don't really want to sell, and it's more of an awareness listing to try and flush more out because I'd like to buy more, but it just has to happen because they are rarer than what people thought. Not like trophy card crazy, but they have legs to them. Sean Boyle asks, what are your chances that there's a Seal First Base booster box crate in the wild? There's a couple out there. Will they appear? Who knows? We've thrown some serious money around, but you know, nothing as of yet. Will Base 2 set have any future value? No. Next question. How much is your whole collection worth in US dollars? 7 figures. There's no one answer because a lot of the stuff is like even the Tropical Wind I put up on eBay. Literally no one else has ever owned that card. That PSA 9 copy of that card. So you're talking stuff that's priceless. I don't know what it would be. So it's 7 figures is what I just tell people. And, you know, people just choose whatever number makes them feel comfortable. Probably 6'9" all over the place. 6'9s across the board. What is your main source of income? Money. Pokenastic, what is the last PSA card you purchased under $500? Good question. Oh, man. That's tough. Probably some first edition base card I bought recently in a collection from somebody. What's up, Scott? Why are the Topps series or top series of Pokemon cards an afterthought in the hobby? In general, because they aren't the TCG. Everybody wants a TCG. That's what we grew up with. Sorry, Topps guys. It's better design, better concept, more time spent on it. A lot of Topps is just like shot from an anime show, plaster foil on top of it. You know, that's really what it is. So I'm not big on it. I had a couple of them back in the day. I don't think it just clicked with a lot of people. These are the cards we grew up with. We grew up with that original design. So that's what people know and love. That's their experience that they're trying to chase. Hey Scott, congrats on 6K. Have you had PSA ever damage one of your cards while grading? I have, but it's very rare. You know, when I was talking about even the thing where it slides through with their slippage, maybe every 5 out of 10,000 do I get like a case that's chipped in packaging. I've yet to have, like, you know, knock on wood, the unfortunate, like, when they close the case and it chips part of your card or whatever. I've seen those legitimate scenarios. It just hasn't happened to me. But it's very rare that I even had the case damage. When they transitioned to the, like, lighter ones, I got it a little bit more, but they tweaked it and I haven't had it in like a year. So that part of PSA I think is doing well at the moment. Sven asks, hey smpratte, do you often go into Pokemon card hunting flea markets, and what is the best card you found there? I have not. And I tried to when I was younger, and I'd find things like a bald man's hairbrush, which is just like the wooden part of a brush without the bristles, because that's a flea market in a nutshell. That's about the jank you're going to find there. So I never found anything Pokemon. When I do, like in Florida or something, it's like base 2 Charizard for all the base 2 guys at like $300. And I'm like, what? Like they must just like search BuzzFeed and like, oh, there's a Charizard somewhere, it's like $300. Slap that price on there. So no, I haven't found anything. Next question. Talk about the still underappreciated Ash First Team Rocket half deck. I like it. Actually, no, going back to the Topps thing when I was being a little sarcastic about slapping on an image from the anime, I like how they did that with the Rocket one because it's nice and balanced, and they really took like the poignant, just not like some generic like Pikachu giving you the, you know, Pikachu Reddit meme, but it just looks nice. I like the art for all that. I like the idea of Rocket in the background, Mimikyu and Pikachu. It's a nice concept, has a nice identity to it, but you know, that's really all. That doesn't mean anything besides my feelings. I don't know what it's going to do long term. Nicole P.S. Hey smpratte, this is Tiny Dundee from E4. I recognize you, Nicole. I know Nicole P. Random question. Which seal packs do you think would be fun to research and collect, not caring about investing, but strictly off the package art? Now, that is the type of question people should be asking. Forget about the investing. Let's talk about the art. It really is what I would say what area you grew up with the most. Like, I know most people go for like the originals, like base, jungle, and fossil. And I personally like jungle out of that, partial to green. But I had a lot of experience with jungle. Base was that one that we heard about, especially like first edition. We didn't have first edition base in my area. So I don't know. That's a tough one. It really comes down to, I would say, what genre you grew up in. That's going to be what's going to appeal to you the most. For some people, like, I think Dragon's a nice set, EX Dragon. But I didn't really grow up with it, so I don't have the nostalgia. But I can recognize, okay, this is a solid, kind of minimalist, more simple design there. But I don't know. Jungle just draws me back in. I don't know why. Maybe it's a Southern Island in me. Like, people know Southern Island's like my favorite. But unfortunately, Southern Island doesn't have any packs. Winters asks, hey Scott, I hope you're doing well. What is your thoughts on the Komiya art? Our favorite Komiya artwork. Mine is Magneton and Red Flash. Somebody will probably tell me to say Cubone, but that new one with Snorlax is out of control. That new tag team one, Snorlax Eevee, is out of control. Next question, there's a big known collection of unpeeled first edition base set booster boxes anywhere. There's a couple of them, but they're not moving. Last 2 pages here. About 1.5. Can't Scumbag Pratt get his own channel because I can't get enough of him? Second, what are your thoughts on modern product? Scumbag Pratt appears when needed, when destiny calls. Thoughts on modern product? That's about it. Next question, probably a question you get all the time. What do you feel about PSA 9 versus PSA 10, considering pop saturation, price difference, collectability? Also, how do you feel about weak graded cards? PSA is supposed to be there to remove this problem. Okay, in defense of anybody who declares condition, grades are subjective at the end of the day. Some cards sit between grades. I do agree, some of them aren't to my liking. I've seen some cards I'm like, okay, I don't think that should be a 9, 10, 8, whatever it is. But again, it's because there is this always inherent element of subjectivity that's really hard to pinpoint every single time the same exact result. But PSA 9, PSA 10, it's pick your poison. PSA 9's value, PSA 10 is more. You want the full-on chase, 100% chase. It's just really up to whatever your preference is. Bobby Hill, did Pokemon Go create a hype trade? Do you think Pokemon Go created a hype trade for the Pokemon TCG? Just touch on this in another video. There was a beautiful meme called the Pokemon Go Bubble, which was basically like a bunch of butthurt people that were just frustrated that so many people now were collecting cards. The exact cards the same way they were and liked them the same way they did, but they were paying more. So therefore, it had to be something wrong. And that was dubbed the Pokemon Go Bubble. And here we are, 2019. The market has more everything than ever. So, no. I think it created interest. That's the difference. Organic traffic, in my opinion, Pokemon Go is the textbook example of organic traffic. You throw something out there, we'll see what happens with Detective Pikachu. It's another example. Something out there, does it generate interest? Does it trickle down to someone in organically Googling something, going down the rabbit hole, and tuning into this Q&A? So it's just organic traffic. Will Expedition ever be worth anything? Those 40 Charizards that one business has might have something to say about that. Polfon, how much do you think the gold Pikachu is worth? A couple sold privately. I don't know if they want those public, but higher than what probably people think, which is like every trophy card. Manuel Torres. Did I read so? Manuel Torres. Which WotC box, in your opinion, is underrated? None. Light73S. Hey Scott, how do you see Skyridge in the future? This set has seen a lot of variations in the last few months. Hype seems to have died down a bit. I have a hard time pinpointing price range. Skyridge is crazy. It's just crazy. I think it's the last. It's like everyone losing their mind for a number of reasons. The last WotC set. It is scarce. It has nice cards. It's a good set. But I mean, I sold some PSA 10s in auction that blow my mind how affordable they are still. So I don't think it's crazy for the card side. Sure, Sealed Product's a different animal. No one can tell you with that. But yeah, I think the individual card pricing has definitely cooled down. And I think that's going to remain for the foreseeable short term. Next question. Where do you see PSA grading, or why? Where do you see PSA grading first edition mint cards in the future? Will they maintain their value due to their condition, or will they fall as a result of resubmitting? I don't know what's being asked here. Next question. Do you think the Japanese Versus set is underrated? A shame it never got a full English release, although a few artworks did make it over. Yeah, I think it's a great set. I think it has great art. It's unique. I actually like that it didn't get released to English, because most things that get released to English go there to die outside the WotC era, which I guess that would have been the WotC era. But because this is a massive set, I don't think they could have handled it properly. And then if they had to do the whole reverse hollow treatment that they were doing at the time, because those had first edition on them, so that's probably what kept them from jumping the fence. But yeah, it's a nice set. Artwork's great. Artwork's really developed at that time compared to the beginning. But yeah, I like it for what it is. John Jacob asks, could you please shed some light on the first edition Black Star Ivy Pikachu? How rare is it? Does it have potential value? Worth investing in? It's rare. Worth investing in. You can figure it out. Mark asks, what's your opinions on sets such as Shining Legends? It's somewhat exclusive, but not necessarily. Shining Legends is good for modern, but you got to understand that's modern. It's never going to be, like earlier somebody asked about Neo Destiny. It's never going to be Neo Destiny. It's great for modern. It's a fun pickup, and that's what it should be treated as. It's not going to explode. There's so much of it out there. It's going to probably stay the same price for 5 years. How many first edition base boxes do you have? A few, some, many. Erica asked GMA or PSA. I think PSA just nudges it out a bit. Ben and Harry's, hey smpratte, do you have any advice on scamming people as a buyer? Maybe on eBay. Also, any free financial advice would be highly appreciated. My scumbag Pratt advice would be, bro, raffles are 100% legit. Check my references. 100% legit. 100% emojis across the board. So there you go. That's a little... I didn't put the hat on, so I really can't get into character, but there it is. Just check the references. Gear Up Survival asks, do you think Pokemon cards and or packs that sell today will one day be as expensive in value as our old packs? That's a good question, but I'm going to say no. There's too many of them. Now it's too optimal, even to the point where, look at this, there's over 150 questions in less than a day, just on this channel alone. So there's too many people aware, there's too much awareness to have that same progress that was dependent on that lack of awareness from back in the day, that lack of optimization. So now it's too optimized that you can't really have that same breakdown. Now, can there be growth? Sure. But you really need a sharp fall. Like, you got to understand there's so much product out there. At one point, you had businesses buying 4,000 cases. Within a case, there's 6 boxes. You know, that's insane. It's 24,000 boxes. It's unheard of. So, you're talking like 20 times what people used to order, you know, back when things organically rose. Next question, what do YouTubers do you watch? Music, most of the guys I named. I watch Red Letter Media for movies, reviews. For Pokemon stuff, I'll touch on, what's his name, Max Mofo, once in a while for like the big, he's like the only big channel that's funny to me. All the other ones are geared more towards kids, which I like what they do. I like what they do for kids, like Leon Hart, really like what he does. Not my cup of tea because it's meant for the younger crowd. But yeah, I mean, I'm someone who, when I have time, it's usually just some music, which sometimes is a playlist. Right now it's been Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack. Been diving deep into that David Weiss, and like that dude's nuts on how he composes music. But yeah, it'll cycle, hockey highlights, whatever it is. Last couple questions here. What are your thoughts on Detective Pikachu and its cards? Would you make an investment on its investment? I'm hopefully optimistic. I'm waiting to see. I'm a wait and see type of person. And yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be... It looks good. The second trailer looks better. I really like how they integrated the Pokemon. A lot of people were critical, but I think it's going to bring in a new type of person or pique someone else's interest. But yeah, I think it's ultimately a good thing. It's ultimately good to try. Hand Muffin, what is your opinion on Japanese No Rarity? I feel it should be worth more because it is the original set. Japanese No Rarity is one of the worst sets in Pokemon, bar none. Bar none. This isn't even an opinion. It's basically a free public service announcement that I do for people who weren't here from 2013 and beyond. Because in 2013-14, everyone pretended they discovered No Rarity, but really what it was a handful of flippers who found a couple of Japanese sites where they could buy No Rarity cards for $40 ungraded all day in mint condition, grade them, and flip them for thousands of dollars of profit. And that's what they did. And they would tell people, this is the first set. These are so rare. Look, it's Pop 1. When the real answer is, it's Pop 1 because no one gave a shit. And still to this day, the prices have not recovered to that time when the market was insignificant to today as far as consumer income, people buying, etc., piled on. So therefore, outside the Charizard, maybe extended to the big three, No Rarity is one of the least exciting and worst sets in the hobby to buy unequivocally. It's not even an opinion. It's just a terrible scenario. It's a terrible framework, and partly why, a great little microcosm on why you don't want a market driven by only flippers, because that's what it'll do. You're going to sell some snake oil to people. They're going to pay $4,000 for a card that will never be worth $4,000 again. So, Japanese No Rarity is terrible. Last question, fittingly so. We're going to start with Alpha Scott. We're going to end with Beta Scott. PFM asks, hey Scott, does it concern you that so many people in this hobby are more interested in collecting money than cards? Do you think this will ever change as more people get real jobs? Where are the collectors at? I mean, I've thought about this for a long time myself, and both sides of the coin. Sure, I mean, even you can see my reactions for some of the predict the future questions. I think the best general answer is the people asking, what's this going to be in 5 years? What's this going to do? It's neither collecting or investing. I think that's the best answer. It's neither one. They're doing both of them wrong. Because investing isn't walking in, again, to like Merrill Lynch or, pick your poison, saying, what's the Dow Jones going to be in 5 years, guys? What's Google going to be in 5 years? That's just completely ridiculous. It's like what a baby would do. And that's where we are, unfortunately, right now in Pokemon for some people. We still are in our infancy. And hopefully we evolve from that baby Pokemon form, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of it's just talk. It's real easy to get online and type out stuff, and more specifically, it's easier to talk about the practical side with finance than it is to just go on and on about why you love Southern Island and why you love this artwork. It's sharing it and talking about it is good, and I'm all about that. But today, there's just so many people, and so many people are spending more money that naturally there's going to be more financial discussion. But I think is nice to talk about that. But yeah, the people who are investing and simultaneously asking what's the next thing, what's it going to be in 5 years, they're not going to have one of the largest collections or make a lot of money. They're just going to be someone who hopefully learns. That's really what it is. And I think that's where we are right now. Just a learning phase. I've seen the macro trends change. Even when I started making videos, there were certain problems I saw that have phased out. And you're one of them. I bitch to you sometimes about immaturity, and some of that's phased out, I think, in a macro sense, but that is one of the lingering things. So there you go, guys. Hopefully that was useful. That's pretty much everything I have. Like I said, for those new viewers, this is a one-take deal podcast, Bill Burr type, where you just fire away and just give you as much knowledge as I can, just real-time candid responses. So hopefully this was useful. Sorry again if I missed your questions. There were too many to answer. Even this ran on a bit long, but that's pretty much it, guys. Appreciate the questions, appreciate the support, and till next time.